Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
There's a story about how officers flying over Walker County have found 11 grow sites in the southern part of the county where there are 113 mature plants found that would have had a street value of $135,000, according to TV12's Mandy Odom. And there's also news today about how Frito-Lay is going to be offering a special poofter chip, a rainbow chip to support the lug butt community. TV9 has that story inspired by the lug butt pride flag, which of course is the flag borrowing from the scriptural account of Noah coming out of the ark after the flood. The rainbow is God's promise of really two things. One, that he has the authority to judge men in totality if he wants to, but also the rainbow reflects that God is merciful to men if they repent. And that was, of course, what Noah did. He was a preacher. He preached repentance. He told people before the flood came to stop hating each other, stop stealing from each other, defrauding each other, and abusing each other, and fear God. That was his message. And very few people at that time listened. And so the lug butt flag borrows from the scriptural promise of God's government. And every time you see a gay flag, remember that it is a flag of mercy and judgment together. And every homosexual who carries that flag has that option if he hasn't been a blasphemer against God, which is the sin that's not pardonable. He does have, as far as we can see, the prospect for God's grace. We are here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, the station in which you report and the world decides. If you are thinking, as I am, in the direction of a major catastrophe, calamity, maelstrom in the national economy and the credit sector, make sure you have a plan B. Plan B could be your own business. And in that direction, think of Bruce Krebs, who runs Entrepreneur Source. In fact, one of the men at Panera Posse, which meets every Friday morning at 6:30 in Hickson, has had a consultation with Bruce Krebs and has landed upon a possible parallel business to what he's doing now. Bruce Krebs runs Entrepreneur Source. His number is 875-5621, 875-5621. Get in with Bruce Krebs now and start working on your plan for restaurant in South Saudi Daisy. Also, that is relief of a different order entirely, of course. Loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, and other wonderful things from the hand of Maria Hernandez, a genuine Mexican, at Delia's. And mention our station and you'll get a free iced tea, or make an order of the special for today, which is the taco salad. Just ask for the radio special, and that's the taco salad. It's $1 off, $6.25. My name is David Tulis, and we are here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. This is the number 4 show. We've got a great lineup. Eric Judd, we've got Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity. In the morning early, we've got Daybreak USA news and analysis with a real personal touch, and Cowboy Up with Text in the evening after our drive home show, run by Russell, the kid who has never set foot in a classroom, and yet at 20 years old is news director of a real genuine radio station. You know, we're not just putting blog posts out there. We are a real genuine radio station. We do thank you, our listener, for making that possible. I've got some questions about the Muslim religion, about Mohammedan thinking, about the Prophet Muhammad, who is the founder in the 7th century of this great and marvelously violent religious political system. And to help me along, I have here with me Amos Taj, who is a retired Methodist minister. He's a man born in India. In fact, he was born so long ago that he was in the part of India that in 1947 was carved out to become Pakistan. And Amos Taj left India, Pakistan in 1960, and is an American, the American with the Punjab flavor, if you will. He's the father of two children, grown, a boy and a girl, of course, now grown, and they have 2 children, 2 grandchildren among them, and 4 great-grandchildren. Well, Amos, welcome to our show.
Thank you, David.
Well, we met at the event with Dr. Bill Warner at Stewart Heights Baptist Church, and we were both listening to Dr. Warner's discussion about the Muslim threat, if you will. It is a threat that is not residing among the people who are Muslims so much as the ideas and doctrines and dogmas of the Islamic religion. Now your background, you're a Christian. Were you ever from that part of the world? Were you ever a Muslim?
No, I was never a Muslim. Neither my family, as far as I know. They might have some kind of dissent for religious understanding with the Hindu religion, but my family has never introduced to Islam. But I grew up in a country like Pakistan up till 25 years of my life, where I came in contact with a lot of Muslims, had many friends, and then also I talked with Ahmadiyya Muslims who always want to discuss, and had a lot of debates working with the Presbyterian missionaries where I usually attended the church, and I was more familiar with that kind of Presbyterian church. We had to always go evangelize, maybe in the streets, and we had I had quite a bit of time with Muslims, talking, understanding, learning their religion, knowing what they believe, and of course, purpose was to inform Muslims about what I believed and we Christians believe.
Well, what was the argument that Dr. Warner from Nashville, he works for the Center for the Study of Political Islam. What was the argument he made, and how much on the mark is he?
I was very much impressed with Dr. Warner. Dr. Warner, I think, is very well informed of Muslim faith, Muslim textbooks, and he was presenting his message not from the top of his head or from the just blowing air. He was very much familiar with Islam, and he presented true Islam, that through the Islamic texts, Quran, Hadith, Muhammad's life, informed Dr. Warner was when he spoke. He actually is a physicist, has PhD, but he studied Islam. You don't have to be a theological Muslim doctor to understand Islam. Anybody can read, study, and know Islam if you're interested. And I think that everybody should be interested in Islam, because Islam is a hot topic in our society and throughout the world. What is happening through Islam, with Islam, the Muslims, what they are doing, and that what every Christian should be aware of Islam.
What are some common mistakes that people like me and my listener make when we consider the Muslim world? How do we misunderstand it? Do we have any common mistakes in our perception of Islam?
Mostly, I noticed that Americans, they are very kind and they are very intolerant of other religions. But being intolerant and being compassionate and kind, they forget that what other group of people. Now, we have never heard about Hindus raising a hell in this country, never heard Sikhs or any other religion, but Muslims. And I think that Muslims are the people that we talk and tackle and study and hear different debates. And many people like Dr. Warner, we hear them because there is something about Muslim religion that we all need to know. I know that the controversy on the sheriff, they are in the newspaper almost every day in the people's opinions. Some defend the sheriff, and some they hate his remarks, and but they really don't understand what sheriff was doing about Islam, saying about Islam, and what truly Islam is. And I think this is what we need to understand before we give our opinions about being compassionate and understanding and accepting other minority religions. We are very politically correct people. We don't want to offend other people. But I think if speak the truth, we speak truth in love and with compassion, and not just to avoid the truth. And we need to talk about Islam and learn about Islam. Middle East, rest of the world, and even in the United States and European countries.
Well, you're making reference, Amos Taj, a retired Methodist minister, you're making reference to Jim Hammond, the Hamilton County Sheriff, who said in his most notable quote is that Islam is communism with a God. In other words, a totalitarian political system, kind of vertically integrated with a deity at the top. And he says that Islam is a source of potential violence and danger, not just in the Mideast, not just at the World Trade Center 10 years ago or so, 2001, but even here in Chattanooga. So what is, in a nutshell, what is Sheriff Hammond saying? And evaluate, if you would, for my listener, how accurate he is in his assessment.
I think that some people have given their opinions that Sheriff did not know anything about communism and he didn't know anything about Islam. I think that if Sheriff had said fascists, those like Mussolini's and like Hitler, I would say more that Islamic religion is like Hitler's. God is he's the dictator, and he dictates his plans and his through Muhammad, who becomes the mouthpiece of Allah and dictates over on the whole world.
Because Islam promises that before the end of time, every knee shall bow to Allah, right?
Oh yes, very much. If we read about Islam, study Islam, I think that we will come to know, not that we want to downgrade Islam, but just present the truth about Islam. Like, for instance, Muhammad himself, on his last his address, that was his farewell address, he said, that was in 632 AD, he said that I was ordered to fight all men until they say there is no God but Allah. That means that Muslim, Christian God, Jewish God, Hindu gods, no count, but only Allah. And on this legacy of Muhammad, these words, then we have many people through history. Salahuddin, he said the same thing in different words. But also recent years, Hayatullah Khomeini, Ruhollah Khomeini, he said, we will export our revolution throughout the world until the calls, there is no God but Allah, like Muhammad said. Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, are echoed all over the world. And that's what today, new Khomeini, this supreme leader of Iran, we have heard him harp all the time, death to America, death to Israel, and not only that, but death to Europe and death to whole world, that they want to change all governments and all political systems, that Islam will totally rule the world. So their agenda is to rule the world, like Muhammad said, that fight all men until they say there is no God but their God and their prophet Muhammad. So they have a big agenda.
We're talking with Amos Taj, who was born in India before the Punjabi part of India became Pakistan. He left India in 1960 and is a retired Methodist minister. His name is Amos Taj, and we're hearing about we're discussing the imperial claims of the Muslim religion against the whole world, so that in the end even Christianity is suppressed. Well, Amos Taj, as a Christian, you serve and worship a God who also has a claim upon the whole world and who promises over time to bring all the nations to bow the knee before the Lord Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. How do these two systems differ?
I don't think that you have heard any minister or any religious Christian leader ever threatened death to Middle East Muslim countries, even though most of those Muslim countries today, Muslims will claim that they are Islamic countries. They used to be Muslim countries, I mean Christian countries. And look, they are even still getting the Christians out of those countries. Christians are more tolerant. In the United States, of course, we have debates and about Islam and religion, but we don't pick up the swords and guns and start burning their mosques and throwing them out, or they have freedom of religion in this country. But Christianity wins people with the love, with Jesus himself proclaimed with the very compassionately that he showed his love, that not any soul should perish, but they all must be saved. Even he calls everyone who they can become children of God. Of course, it's a blasphemy for Muslims, but God is a compassionate God, like a father, and he accepts them. Not that he is threatening that I'm going to kill you, like Ahmed the dummy would say. The Muslims are determined to kill you.
Well, my listener has a question, Amos Taj. Did the assassin in Chattanooga on July 16th, named Muhammad Abdulaziz, did he exhibit signs of being radicalized, or was he, is he more, as I would propose, an ordinary Muslim man who was well versed in Islamic theology and who took upon himself the act of jihad against the American military installations to make himself right with God? In other words, he wasn't radicalized. He was simply an ordinary mainstream Muslim man who came to a right realization of the claims of his God upon him. Was he radicalized or not? Well,
even almost 2 months have passed since that event. FBI or any governmental agencies have not declared what really motives are the man who caused that tragedy was radicalized or not. He was gone to Middle East several months. We don't know who he come across with and who he talked with. Of course, there are a lot of Muslims there. He had friends, he had family, and he went to Muslim mosque there, perhaps. We have no idea of that thing so far. Nobody declared that. But he was very much Muslim. He was influenced by his beliefs, his doctrines, the teachings of Islam. He went to mosque here, even though he was a little flunky. You know, he was, they say that he was depressed and he was on drugs and he was whatever. But can you imagine that he targeted two targets that were the soldiers, the servicemen? He knew what he's doing. He shot servicemen. And I think that right after the Ramadan, the last day of Ramadan, what he did, he wanted to become a martyr, because that is the straight way to paradise. He was looking for paradise, and he did that, and he knew that he's going to get killed. He's not going to get away with what he was doing. But he did, I think, with the belief and very much indoctrinated of Muslim faith and Muslim religion, that even though he might be killed, what he's doing, he'll end up in paradise. A lot of good things in paradise.
Yeah, a lot of good things in paradise. And so there's in Christianity, we would call, there's a doctrine of I think it's assurance of faith, and you have secure Christians, God's children have security of comfort and security of knowing that they're His children. Muhammad Abdulaziz, you're suggesting, found that with the act of jihad. He didn't have it before, but in his great courageous act, he found the assurance, which is of a religious nature, right? And his act was political. It was a paramilitary act, but he found favor with God by this good and great work of killing 5 Americans.
Now, every Muslim, the goal for every Muslim is that go to heaven, to paradise. That's their goal. Now, because their goal is to find that it's a physically what they can have in this world, but they can have there.
We'll be right back. Hang on.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Our number here in the studio is 800-8949. That's 800-8949. This is David Tulis. We are AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. And the news is, I believe it's news, is that Lieutenant Commander Tim White, our hero here in Chattanooga, firing at Muhammad Abdulaziz, the Muslim attacker, the faithful martyr, the lover of Allah, who died July 16 in a massacre against Americans. This man who fired upon him with his private weapon, a Navy officer, Lieutenant Commander Tim White, is not going to be charged. And the quote is from his, not from his commander, but from a commander, Charles Summers, in the Public Affairs Office of the U.S. Navy Reserve, is that there is no pending case against Commander White. There are, quote, no plans to charge Commander White. There is no case against, that's a quote, Commander White. And to me, that does sound ambiguous, even though to you, my listener, it sounds pretty categorically true that this family man, this Christian, very active Christian man, by the way, a homeschool dad of 6 children. He has 1 child enwombed in his wife Franicia. They're expecting. He is not going to be charged. So I'm not sure. I'm presenting that in my story today at Nooganomics.com as fairly definitive. And we just have to see if that suggestion is borne out in the future. We are talking with Amos Taj here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and he is a Pakistani. He is a Punjabi from the Punjab province of Pakistan that was seeded in the carving up of India in 1947 to make Pakistan. So he is a Pakistani. Has always been he has either been a lost soul or a Christian. He's never been a Muslim. But we are talking about the Muslim theology, and we are brought to you by Chattanooga Sports Institute. Dr. Danielle Mitchell. She is a terrific physician who runs a family practice with orthopedic and urgent care angles, very sports oriented. And she's running her business on the cash pay model. And that is part of local economy's great counter-revolution against modern debt-based, third-party payment-based systems. Her name is Danielle Mitchell. It's Chattanooga Sports Institute. Online is ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. And I also wanted to mention Sky Aerial Services, which is your drone specialist. The number is 521-0284, 521-0284. And Eric will, at Sky Aerial Services, provide great photography of your event, your lot, your property, your real estate, your boat trip, maybe. Just work out the details with him. My name is David Tulis, and we are we want to ask Amos Taj, who is a former minister, a retired Methodist minister, about the mysteries of Islam, including not just the ones where you have decapitated heads in a row on the ground with the blood seeping into the sand. Not just that. That's pretty scary, but that's basic Muslim theology in action there. But maybe on the domestic front, we have something else, and that is the Muslim theory of women. A woman is worth half a man, so in other words, a man is worth 2 women. And there are other amazing doctrines which the Quran, the Hadith, the Muslim commentary, and a 3rd volume in the trilogy called the Sirah, which is the biography of Muhammad, they all declare certain things and teach certain things. The newer documents overwriting the old, if you will. The peaceful ones are overwritten by the militant, jihad-oriented ones. Amos, what is so remarkable about the Muslim theory of women? Who are women in the Muslim world? What is their value? How are they treated?
Well, there's a lot of difference among being a Muslim man and a Muslim woman. Now, women, in one sentence, I can say that women are for pleasure, and only for pleasure, and not only on this earth, but also in the looking forward to be there. They try to do all kind of good works and everything, what Muhammad says and what the Sharia says and what the Hadith and other all holy texts say. But their main goal is to enjoy paradise, because there'll be women for those Muslims who live the righteous life, and most of all, especially for those who die, give their life for Islam and give their life fighting for Allah. They call it jihad. They are going to be directly, right away when they die, go to straight to paradise, and they are women, 72, and maybe more.
So Commander Tim White's 9mm bullet enters the brain of potentially Muhammad Abdulaziz, and the moment he dies, he's immediately having an orgy.
Oh, yeah. And also, I don't want to use this, what I'm going to say, this thought, that Muslims believe, and the Quran says this, that they will have erection 24 hours. Now, that's the pleasure that they'll enjoy women. Some people wonder, what you going to do with 72? Well, they can have 72 because they will be erection. They have erection all the time.
A perpetual Viagra-induced.
Absolutely, and Cialis too. So women are for pleasure, not only on this earth, but also in with the Muslims understanding their beliefs and doctrines. But we talk about it, and I think we should put more emphasis in the United States and in Western society, because women's human rights are being violated, which is prescribed by the religion of Islam.
How are they being violated?
Oh, they are violated in so many different ways. I wish we had plenty of time. We have other things to talk about, I think, David. But I have many references here that I brought with me.
Please share some of them, Amos Taj.
Okay. We have references here, like read Quran, and these are in the Quran, and there are Sharias and other, but 78, Surah 78, 31 to 33, Surah 45, 70 to 74, 46, 10 to...
Well, we don't need the citations as much as we need the content of these provisions. What are some of the points?
Yeah. Content of these references, that I have several of them, and also in the Sharia and all, is that for those who are fearing Allah, they have a blissful abode with women for companions, and there will be beautiful virgins. Now, those women are not just going to be like Khadija, who already had several children, was older than Muhammad, but they'll be all virgin. And this is what Muslims like to have, virgins, women in heaven, and also, of course, in here. Another thing that Muslim religion teaches about women is that, for instance, you are gone to Nashville and you stay overnight there, and you want to have sex. So you pick up a woman and marry her for night, and when you're through, next morning you divorce her and go on your way. And this is permitted and acceptable.
Well, is the woman who is married that way, does she have all the rights of a Muslim woman, or is she somehow a slave of the owner of that home?
That's a sex slave. She is just for overnight purposes. That's in Islam that is permissible. Is given permission to
So women that Muhammad owned, he passed around with his lieutenants. Is that right? I read.
Not his women, not his women, but all those women that they got in the fight
in
war, combat. They divided just like today. The ISIS do. They get the women and they divide among themselves. That's why perhaps many Muslims were willing, and many European and American Muslim young people are going there because they might get a woman, I guess, there, or whatever the purpose. But women are considered, they are slaves in every way, and women are creatures. They're inferior than men in every way, physically, intellectually, and morally. And
why do they have to be covered up?
Covered up.
Why are they always in a veil? And why are their bodies completely hidden under sheets?
In Quran, Muhammad wanted his wives to be covered up because those Bedouins, when they come in Medina, in the mosque where Muhammad lived, that they'll flirt with his wives. And Muhammad, he didn't want those Bedouins, Muslims, to. So he created parda. I mean, the veil, so that they may not see them, and if they need to talk, the women will talk from behind the curtain. But then it became anything Muslim Muhammad did. It is for Muslims to follow is a honor. So many Muslims today, they follow this, and women cover themselves. Of course, they need to cover their hair, except their eyes. But it has become kind of fashion in the modern world that women don't cover all. Just like in Afghanistan or part of Pakistan, a lot of women, they put just like shuttlecock, play that badminton, shuttlecock, they are all the way covered. But
even playing badminton.
Badminton, yeah. But many Muslim women, you see, they just have a headscarf, scarf. And they have those tight pants. You can see through those tight pants. This just has become a fashion, and just to show that they are Muslim, I guess. But otherwise, Muslim women are doing everything that modern women do in Pakistan and other countries too, and even in America.
But women cannot be in a car, let's say, with someone who's not an immediate blood relative. They're not free to go about liberally as in the West, are they?
I think that treatment of women is only in Saudi Arabia, but some of the other Muslim countries, they have sort of accepted Western ways, and they have they are more lean toward Western culture and customs, and they have a kind of lenient toward women in covering and not driving. Only in Saudi Arabia.
In one of his conversations, Muhammad is quoted as saying, he said, "I also saw hellfire, and I've never seen such a terrible sight. I saw that the majority of the inhabitants were women." So his statement that most of the people in hell are women is understood to be a dogma in Islam. Why is it that there are fewer men in hell there than women? What brings that about?
There are several reasons, David. Because morally and ethically, women are not equal to men, and therefore those who are less ethical and moral, they will be ending up in the hell as a fuel, to burning. And all infidels are going to be in hell. You and I too. So you better be careful. Be prepared.
Well, women are deemed also by Muhammad to be an affliction to men. Muhammad said, "If at all there is a bad omen, it is in the horse, the woman, and the house." On another occasion, he had said, "I have not left any affliction after me more harmful to men than women." So he viewed women as morally damaging to men. And so there really seem to be somewhat objectified, turned into objects by the doctrines of the Muslim religion.
No, this is in the hadith, that women are so immoral, if they see a buffoon, that they'll have sex with him. So that's why most Muslims don't trust their women, and Muhammad himself did not trust women, because he was very much a women-minded man. And he thought that women are just like him. that he is always ready, and women, they're always ready for this with the strangers.
And that's why, and I've heard that or I've read that in Muslim cultures, sex is very perfunctory, and it's always the man. It's all about the man having his moment of satisfaction when he wants it, and whatever circumstance he wants it. It's never, as I understand it, tender as in Christianity. In Christianity, lovemaking is the man wins the woman, he woos the woman, he pets the woman, his wife, and she is equally anticipatory as he, and it's a mutual relationship. It's not a one-sided, one-way relationship that seems to be implied in the Muslim teachings about men and women.
A woman should always be ready for sex, whether she wants it or not. And never refuse her man. If she refuses, he has a right to beat her. This Muhammad, in the Quran, it says that if you are on a camel with your wife and you have a sex, want to have a sex, the woman you can have sex with her right on the sitting on the camel. Muslim men, and they treat their women just like they use somebody, and should never deny her husband.
Well, it seems to me that this is something that Americans who are concerned about Islamophobia should consider. Here in Chattanooga, we have Chris Brooks, we have CNR, which is Chattanooga News and Review on Facebook, which last week threw me out as a writer, as an editor, and as a man who posts the dissenting view to that. I'm not sure if defenders of Islam here are defending Islam in its content or just in its contentless form. We defend all people who are under attack by by people like me or by Sheriff Hammond. But what else? Amos Taj, you're a man from Pakistan. You're a retired Methodist minister. What else can you tell us about Islam and the relations between men and women and marriage in the Muslim religion?
Relationship of men and women?
Yes.
Well, one thing is that women are considered lower creatures because physically and morally, intellectually, women are considered lower. This is perhaps one concept that really Muslims have toward women, which in America it won't work. Women are equal. They are physically have proven better, intellectually much better. So this is one difference in Islam, that women are treated inferior because they are not morally, physically able as men. So
well, that idea would have a long way to go here in the United States, here in Hamilton County and Chattanooga, because it would not be widely accepted. But Amos Taj, Mohammedanism or Islam has a very long-term view of its conquest. It's very patient, right? It's willing to work in the background, not just for months or years, but really for centuries. So people, the generations of Muslims in Chattanooga are willing to work and wait for centuries for this line of thinking to gain control and finally gain muscle in local economy and the free market here, to take, in effect, to take it over.
If we read the history, for instance, one instance I can mention, that Muhammad, during his own lifetime, he had conquered the whole Arabia. And it was his desire to conquer Eastern Roman Empire, Byzantine. And did you know that Turkey became, the Roman Empire became very much Muslim country in 1453, that the Muslims attacked and they conquered. In 1453, it was become very much a Muslim country. But all that meantime, the Ghazis, they call them, those who have fought the wars in Islam, that they were always attacking, and it's usually from the people from the Central Asia, Turkmens, men, and they are always were attacking, little bit, and actually they had they had focus, to conquer Turkey, and they had grazing sheep and goats and all, and they were looking for grazing places, and they were always going closer and closer and closer, make their camps to the border. And eventually, after Muhammad 632, that his desire was, in 1453, they conquered. And today, I believe that this is the same agenda that Muslims have today. It doesn't matter how long it'll take, but eventually you can see what has happened within the last 30, 40 years in the United States.
What has happened?
What has happened is that they're asking their rights. They have come here to live here and enjoy the prosperity of this country. And I think that when Sheriff, he wrote his, when he said in this speech to the in the
Pachyderm Club. Yes,
I think it is not Sheriff who must accommodate Muslims' beliefs and their sensitivities. Rather, it's Muslims who must learn to live with our commitments to free speech and our customs and our traditions and our way of life and our values. They have come as guests here. Now, we have accommodated them every way, but when we speak something about Muslims, then they raise hell about Islam. And that is a step that they are taking more and more power, using our own constitutions, using our own
openness, our generosity,
and
our grace,
and freedom of religion, and they are using our laws against us.
Eventually to suppress Christianity.
And eventually their agenda is to take over. Look what happened in European countries. In Holland, they have their own Sharia zones. These are the small steps toward fulfilling their agenda.
And the small steps involve a constant sense of indignation, constantly being offended, constantly carping about their rights. And here we have, in our state, in our city, we have the most liberal, supposed liberal people. Or to my listener, or even to me, David Tulis. Well, Amos Taj. So, what is the antidote? What does my listener need to know? We have just about a minute. What does my listener need to know about practical steps? What can he do to, if you will, resist the tide, or to what steps are practically open to him to do?
I think just now recently that that how many those Syrians. Refugees are coming to European countries, and eventually they'll be coming some here.
They're coming here, yes.
Yeah, look what those refugees have come from Iraq, in Michigan, Dearborn. They, they have their own councilmen, and they're making their own laws.
But hasn't Christianity penetrated migrant immigrant populations in the United States? Is not Christianity doesn't it have a real prospect among immigrants here?
Well, that's true.
One would hope.
Yeah, but I think that that doesn't mean that when we accommodate Muslims in this country, they should take over our values and our system, way of life, and our social orders, and that we have in this society. They are trying to take over.
So the some in the immigrant population come here, some will be bent on long-term warfare, but some are going to be open to the gospel message.
Maybe, but I think a Muslim is a Muslim. Unless they look at their textbooks, holy books, it'll be very, very difficult for Muslims to accept our ways of life. They need to change some of their texts.
Amos Taj, thank you for joining my listener and me here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.